What's going on, trading homies? My name is Bobby in HD, and welcome back to episode 3 of Conquering the Combine. In the last two episodes, we have been trading really well on the NQ, building up our progress towards our goal of conquering a Topstep 150K Combine, and lastly, we had just passed the third of the way there mark with over $3,400 in profits. Heading into today, you can see that we are in space, and that's because so was the market. NQ has been consistently breaking and trading new all-time highs. So how did we do? Were we able to maintain our green streak? How did the news of the day fare for our price action? Well, let's go ahead and get into the recap and take a look at how we did. All right, so let's get into the trade review. Right off the bat, gonna cut to the chase. Thankfully, our green streak does survive another day, and we were able to finish day 3 of the Combine up $1,760. But let me be honest with you, not all green days are created equal, and we could see by the chart, this was a messy one. Now, firstly, here, the initial trades that I took off the open, kind of in this section here, and we're gonna draw that box in red for good reason. That was a hot mess. Things were very volatile off the open. We also had two news events today. Again, as we could see by those lightning bolts at the bottom of the Topstep X platform. At 9:45 a.m., we had the services PMI, and at 10 a.m. Eastern, we had the ISM non-manufacturing PMI as well. The combination of these two large monthly news prints really made the price action quite whippy. You can see those candles on the 3-minute here are very, very wide. And despite us moving up and down in a range quite frequently, we did remain in about a 50-point range, which on NQ is rather tight. So we did struggle in the morning, and if those executions look messy to you at home, you're exactly right, they were. However, thankfully, once the market settled down and we took a break ourselves, we got into this upper channel here, a different 50-point range, but this one was a lot clearer. We saw some very, very, very visible places where buyers were continually stepping in and orders and areas of liquidity, and we were able to execute some nice trades to make the best of this day where we didn't have our best start and come out with a great green day, again to the tune of $1,760. Now, because we're trading at all-time highs, and funny enough, as we're mentioning it here, it is still 2:30 Eastern. NQ is literally making a new all-time high as we speak, 21,511 quarter being the new all-time high on NQ. That makes trading a little bit difficult for my personal style of trading. So before we get into the trade recap today, let me share some tips that help me find success when trading these new all-time high areas, if it's something that you struggle with as well. All right, so on that note, it is time for today's Conquering the Combine tip. And this is all going to be around trading around all-time highs. As we just saw, NQ is pushing for the moon, and it doesn't seem like that trend will end anytime soon. So to that point, the first and most important tip is that the trend is your friend. Just because something is at a new all-time high does not mean we can't go higher. Yesterday, during the New York session, we were almost 300 points lower than we are today. That at the time was a new all-time high, and yet here we are 300 points higher just one day later. So don't get caught trying to short an uptrend. Things that can go high can always go higher, and wait for those very visible sell signals before trying to get on the other side of an all-time high trade, because there's going to be so much room once some downside does present itself, since we're at all-time highs. So there's no need to rush, follow the trend. On that note, tip 2 and 3 go together with trend trading, where we're going to want to size down and open up our stops. We've already talked about it on this channel, that you do not want to be using max leverage when you're trying to conquer these combines or in your funded account. It's a great way to take outsized losses and really give yourself not enough room to find success in these markets. So sizing down, keeping your stops open is going to allow you time to have these deeper pullbacks occur that usually do occur when we're near all-time highs, and still let you find success if you are on the right side, in this case the long side, of those trends. And to that note, tip 3 is going to be expect larger panic pullbacks. When we are creating new all-time highs, there is not volume printed there before, right? It's the first time we've ever been that high. And so as a result, there's what's called single prints, or essentially there is not a lot of history of the market trading at the prices we're currently at. And there's no built up volume shelves over time where larger players such as banks, funds, institutions have resting orders that are going to smooth out the price action in the market and kind of catch those pullbacks and send the market higher. So this is going to cause the pullbacks to sometimes be very, very rapid and very, very steep. And we'll see that in the charts in just a minute. But as a result of that, when, we're making a new high and then coming back 5 points, 10 points, sometimes even 20 points, don't be in a rush to jump in thinking it's going to go right back to all-time highs in the next candle and you're going to miss it. Allow for these deeper pullbacks, wait for areas of consolidation, and get in with a smart, safe entry so that when we do break those new highs, you can ride the trade the whole way for a great gain. And on that note, let's see if we were able to put these tips to use in our trade recap of the day. All right, so let's hop into our trade recap, and we can see that we trigger in long here at 62.25. Looking for a move, as we just talked about, to the upside following that new all-time high trend. And we can see initially trying to take one off at the prior highs there and then setting a higher all-time high target because as the tip said, we don't know how high things can go. Now the stop here is starting off just around the swing low. As you can see from the purple box here, we are entering a period of liquidity. And prior, we saw buyers step in off of this level. So this is really the line in the sand for shorts. And being we're close to all-time highs and have been on an uptrend, my thesis here is that shorts will not succeed in holding this prior support now as resistance. And we're going to get a violent move up and through this purple zone towards our all-time highs. So we can see buyers kind of chipping away at that now, but let's take a second and sit back and see how things play out. From what we've learned about ourselves in the past trades, I'm going to try to be really patient here and give this trade the chance it needs to work. We can see we were just up a couple of points there, but the stop is not moving for now. So let's see how it plays out and watch the price action. All right, so checking back in here, we can see that also in line with our tips of the day, I've actually dragged our stop down a little bit further to give more room. And now you might be thinking, Bobby, you've talked about prior swing lows before. Why are we allowing so much room? And that is because, as we mentioned, on these uptrends near all-time highs, the market is going to need more liquidity to go higher. So it's going to hunt that liquidity. And like we had prior, a lot of people are going to put their stop losses below the prior low. And so we can see right now the market breaking that prior low, but not fully giving up the trend and falling apart. These are liquidity grabs, or what sometimes are referred to as stop hunts. And if you don't know that they're coming and you don't give yourself that extra bit of room when appropriate, of course, we don't want to put our stop loss hundreds of points away, but when appropriate, you're going to get wicked out of trades that you're actually on the right side of. So let's see if moving the stop loss here was beneficial to the trade working out. Well, would you look at that? It absolutely was. And it's a good thing that we moved it not just down, but to a place that made sense. We put it just below 50 and below that resting liquidity that was prior created on the chart. And you can see that we were just left unscathed by that stop run that came within a couple of points of our stop. If we had set our stop around any of the prior lows, like we were mentioning earlier, we would have been stopped out. And now we can see the trade is actually back green and breaking out into our zone that we wanted to see the price action in. So what we're now going to do here is move that stop back up a little bit, and we can move it around. It's not going to stay exactly here forever, but now that we did get that sweep of liquidity, we don't want price to go back down there again, because then that's not a sweep of liquidity. That is the market seeking lower prices. So we gave ourselves the room when we need it, but we don't want to be reckless. So now we're going to take some of that risk off the table and watch the trade as prices now move higher in our favor. Let's stay tuned and see if we can hit those targets above. Right, well, look at this. At long last, we are breaking through that liquidity shelf. As we hypothesized, sellers were not able to keep price below, and now we're going to move our stop into profit and really lock up this trade as a winner. You also may have noticed that while we were still in that zone, I did take one contract off just above break even. This isn't something I usually like to do, but as I mentioned at the earlier part of the day, this trade had me a little uncomfortable, and so did the general price action today. So I didn't want to have that much risk on, and in case we did create a lower high and fail, I wanted to take some of it off. But now we are breaking away free and clear of our zone. We move that stop back up to the top of the zone here to keep ourselves safe and to lock in some good profits on this trade. And now let's see if the market can seek higher prices up towards those highs and our price target. Right, so after some good patience through some wiki price action, we can see we're finally pushing those highs here above 77 and into the 80s. As a result, what I'm going to do is move that stop up just a bit more and watch the price action here where we are struggling a bit. Again, we really want to make sure that we lock this trade into profit since it's been a tricky one and the tricky day overall. We don't want to give back too much. So now as price breaking out higher again, we're going to move our stop a bit aggressively now up into the 74s, just giving that 75 point of significance in those prior wicks the chance to hold. And if it doesn't, we're still going to make $500 additional on this trade. And in a tricky market condition, that is more than enough for me. So let's see how the trade resolves. All right, so tuning back in here. Unfortunately, looking at the price action here, as we anticipated, those 80s have been tough, and they're still looking tough here. And as a result, price is eventually going to roll over here and take out our stop at 74.75, as we see just happening there. But you know what? Overall, that was a great trade. Some really good patience on quite a long trade. We could see how many 3-minute candles were printed. And there's nothing wrong with that. So we are going to take that to the bank. And now you can see when I came back a little bit later, if you want an example of a panic dip, that is one. Look at how large that wick is. And after seeing something like that, It is time to take the rest of the day off. I don't want to be caught in these wicks, and so we're locking in our day. All right, everyone. So that brings us to the end of day 3 of conquering the combine, and what a great day it was. We learned a lot. We saw some additional newsprints. We were putting into practice our tips around trading around all-time highs. We were able to come out with a great green day of $1,760, putting us, look at that progress bar, over the halfway point to our $9,000 profit goal of conquering this Topstep 150K combine. Now today we took 12 trades. That's a little too many for my liking, but we at least did have a 66% win rate. And a lot of that was due to taking profits early in this kind of a whippy market. We can see that reflected in our largest winning trade, not in the 4 figures today, just $955. And our largest losing trade, $680. That is not that 2-to-1 risk ratio that I usually look for, but there is something to be said for realizing when the conditions are a little bit different for your strategy, switching to a scalpier mindset when needed, and securing that green day. Until next time, trading homies, stay green.